Now on Fox 23 Fast Track.
The Winston Cup circuit invades the Rock.
Albany, Saratoga puts the wraps on its 2000 season.
Michael Schumacher puts a cap on his year in Malaysia.
Orange County plays home to Dirt's finest.
And Kim Hart gets together with one driver looking to move on up.
Don't just sit there, get to a TV quick. Fox 23 Fast Track is next.
Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to another snazzy installment of the area's fastest show on TV.
Of course, he's talking about Fox 23 Fast Track, which you're watching. For my partner, Scott Morlock, over here, I'm Shawn Farley.
That's right, and we've got another action-packed half hour for you, so let's get started.
Going to start you off this week way down south, someplace that's affectionately known as The Rock. With 4 races remaining on the Winston Cup circuit, Bob Labonte understandably likes his chances. Leading since April 30th, Labonte has a 210-point lead on Dale Earnhardt going into the weekend, and he'd like nothing more than to distance himself from the Intimidator an inch closer to his first ever Winston Cup points championship. And high fives all around as we get set for the Pop Secret 400 from Rockingham, North Carolina. Your leader early on would be the number 12 Mobile 1-4 Taurus of Jeremy Mayfield. Mayfield with a new World Series paint job out front of second-place car Jeff Burton. Later on, Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer, providing some. Spins and spins against the inside wall. Then we go in-car with Mark Martin as he crumples the rear of the Lowe's Chevrolet of Mike Skinner. Lowe's, I'm pretty sure, has something to fix that. Martin spins around as well into the wall. He's done. At the front, Jeremy Mayfield continuing to lead the event, but he has some company up there. The 88 of Dale Jarrett right on his heels. Jarrett looking literally for his first win since way back in Daytona. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with the problem a bit later on. Gets a tap from rookie Kurt Busch. Goes into the retaining wall. The day coming to a premature end for Dale Jr. and his Budweiser team. I'm sure they were all thrilled. A little while later on, Kevin LePage and the Coors Light Silver Bullet, the Sterling Marlin, into the wall and each other hard. LePage's car is a mess. The sheet metal just ripped off the right side as he exits. Then while he's waiting for medical attention, the car starts to roll away without him. Maybe it had something better to do. Now, a scary sight later on in the event coming up. Lots of flames and a huge fireball in the pits of Matt Kenseth. Firefighters and members of other crews getting together to put out the flames. 2 members of Kenseth's crew would be hurt in the event, but nothing serious, thankfully. A pretty impressive sight from the sky, but thank goodness it looked a whole lot worse than it actually was. Now, Jeremy Mayfield with some problems of his own, not quite as severe. The battery going down on the number 12, forcing him out after leading 169 laps. That would leave Mayfield's teammate Rusty Wallace in the 99 of Jeff Burton to fight it out for the top spot. Last set of pit stops coming up now. Wallace with the lead, but the Miller Lite team having problems getting the wheels on. That's important, meaning Dale Jarrett would inherit the lead with his teammate Ricky Rudd right behind him. But in the end, it would be Dale Jarrett, the defending Winston Cup champion, leading the last 43 laps of the race to take the checkered flag and the victory in the Pop Secret 400.
What a great race car, and the guys back in the shop, this one's for you guys. It's a brand new car. They built it in a hurry just for here, and Todd did the right things in the pits, and the pit crew did a great job there all day long, but especially on that last one. I want to thank God for a safe race and for the abilities of this race team. Man, Daytona was a long time ago, so this is fun.
The car wasn't like it needed to be at the end. We set our car up on that last pit stop to be out front. You know, we figured we'd beat everybody out, and we didn't. And I was way too loose getting off, and I was too tight getting in. So that was about the worst the car drove all day, and we had lost our track position. So between the two things, we finished 4th.
A lot of popcorn flying around. Throw some of that my way. I'm starving. Now, the win was the first for Jarrett at Rockingham. It couldn't have come at a better time for him. The Rainbow Warriors and Jeff Gordon come across the line second. With Ricky Rudd still unable to get his first victory of the 2000 campaign, he finished 3rd, Jeff Burton 4th. And his new Citgo ride, Rusty Wallace, rounds out the top 5. Second, 6th, led by the pride of Long Island, New York, Steve Park, with Tony Stewart right behind him. Caterpillar Pontiac of Ward Burton takes the checkers 8th. But Bobby Hamilton, a great run to finish 9th for him. Front row, Joe Nemechek rounds out the top 10 in the Oakwood home Chevy. Other notables led by Robert Presley in the Jasper Engines machine with a great run. He finished 12th. The Intimidator, 17th. Points leader Bobby Labonte, a disappointing 20th on the day. Pole sitter Jeremy Mayfield finished 29th after his problems with the Valvoline Ford, and Mark Martin 40th after his accident. Winston Cup points still led by Labonte, but now the Intimidator's only 201 back. Jeff Burton still in contention. 251 points off of the pace. Defending champ Dale Jarrett still mathematically alive, 330 points out, while Ricky Rudd is just looking for his first win. Winston Cup boys with 3 races remaining. Back in action in a couple of weeks out in Phoenix.
Well, Albany Saratoga is the final local track to wrap up their season, in what better way than with a twin bill. Malta starting off their day with the rained-out card from September 23rd. The first feature, the Sportsman 50-lap affair. Hey guys, you look real bored. How about a little action? It didn't take very long, because on the very first lap, Gary Gates gets into it with the 12 of Dick Bice, and the cars are a mess, but Gates climbs out okay. Rich Ronka in the fairways of Half Moon car. He's being towed away, but at least he'd be all right, but his car wouldn't. David Peake with the lead a bit later on. Dave Sargent in the number 26 car trying to get by. He gets a little sideways, and Jimmy Davis, the number 73 car, goes up on top of him. A lot of action, the bad kind, early on in this one. Once back to racing, David Peake with the lead once again, but he opens the door just a bit on the low side, and that's all Tony Ballestero would need. The Barber Racing number 37 taking advantage and sliding into the top spot. A few laps later, it would be another Ballestero doing Peake in. This time, Mike Ballestero going high on Peake, takes over the second place position. Peake getting Ballestero not once but twice. That sounds painful. But in the end, no one was going to catch up to the Barber Racing 37 of Tony Ballestero. Ballestero outdistancing his brother Mike to take the checkered flag at Albany, Saratoga.
We got up through, we looked at, when we did get up to second, we didn't know if we had anything for David Peake. I mean, he's been running better all year long. My brother's in the background giving me all kinds of nonsense, but David ran a good race. I don't know where he finished, but I didn't know if we were going to get by him. He opened up the door just a little bit. He'll learn, and we snuck by.
A nice win for Tony Ballestero to end his season with. His brother Mike was second, with David Peake third. Timmy Hartman was disqualified. Jack Gentile was fourth. Tim Poulin was fifth. Second sportsman feature going to Tony Ballestero. I guess that's a perfect way to cap off your season with back-to-back wins. Tim Clemens was second. Mike Ballestero, a slightly different story. This time was third. Gary Gates was fourth, and Timmy Hartman was fifth. In the Pro Stocks, Pete Kimball took first in the first Pro Stock feature, rained out, while Rick French took the second one. In the Hobby Stocks, it went to Rob Muscanel with Ron Tolliver taking over the second Hobby Stock feature. The IMCA Modifieds went to George Catanzano with Jim Barnes picking up the win in the 100-lap Enduro. And, you know, one thing left for Albany Saratoga. Next weekend, the Halloween Havoc featuring a 200-lap Enduro, not just 100 laps this time around.
Then, unfortunately, it's bound to be a long winter. Of course, Volusia coming up, what, in February? February 12th, I think.
February. That's a long ways off, though.
All righty. Let's stop thinking about that. We have to duck out first tonight, but when we come back, Mark Martin looks to continue his mastery of the rock.
But before we get to that, we leave you with something we hope will strengthen your racing knowledge. We call it the Fox 23 Fast Track Trivia Question. Answer a bit later on in the show.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you can make us part of your weekend wind down.
That's right, and the Dirt Boys are all set to wrap up their big block season, but who will be champion? Waterloo, New York, Steve Payne leads the Super Dirt Series Modified Points race by a mere 29 points over Danny Johnson going into the Eastern States weekend at Orange County. With Johnson already wrapping up the 358 title, the question now remains, can he make it a double play? As we head out to Orange County for the Dirt finale, where the championship was decided, unfortunately, before there was officially one lap in the books. First turn, and Danny Johnson gets caught up in some traffic and then goes sliding hard into the outside wall. The Sweeteners Plus 27J is a mess, and Danny Johnson himself is not much better. He would have a pretty bad headache, but he would lose the title and $70,000 to Steve Payne. A.J. Romano with a rare appearance on the dirt circuit, working his number 16 hard with the team going. Nice and easy groceries, number 20 of Jumpin' Jack Johnson. Jack doing a good job, though, of holding on to fourth place over A.J. A little while later, a few problems for another Johnson. This time it's Jack's son Ronnie in the number 21 Coors Light ride. He gets tangled up with the 88 of Frank Cozy. Pretty bad damage to both cars, and their days would be finished. Another young driver, Tim McCready, with a bad break, a flat tire on his Finch's Trucking number 56 ride. McCready into the pits, but he would be able to get back out and not lose a lap, and that would be vital. At the halfway point, your leader would be the Skips Racing Labatt's Blue number 16 of A.J. Romano. A.J. staying out while the other leaders pitted, and he picks up a cool $1,000 bonus for leading at the halfway point. Not a bad paycheck. After all the leaders would pit, your new leader would be the number 19 of Orange County track champion Chuck McKee. The 19 out in front of the number 1 of A.J. Slideaways Alan Johnson, and looking to distance himself for the rest of the field. And in the end, he would do just that. Among all the dirt invaders, local product Chuck McKee will take the checkered flag for victory in the Eastern States Championship. And to make it even more impressive, he had no radio contact with his pits for most of the race. Chuck McKee wins the CarQuest Auto Parts 200.
We came in with no radios, no nothing. And that whole race, I never knew where anybody was around me. I mean, but I told him on Friday, I said, this car is the best. It's better than I am. I said, and I just got to get used to driving it. It was the fastest car I've ever driven. Billy Colton, you know, it's a Troyer 4-link. Everybody complained about him all year. We fought with it, won the championship. Now he won the Eastern States. I don't know what else we could do here.
We had a real good year, and I can't say enough about Doug Holmes, my father, doing the motors and, you know, the TO cars. And this car completed every lap of the whole series this year. We didn't miss one lap. We finished in the top 10 every race but one, and, you know, that's just unheard of.
The big win in front of the home crowd for Orange County track champion Chuck McKee, and a nice $20,000 payday to boot. I'm sure that's not too bad. AJ Slideaway's Alan Johnson comes across second in the Pillsbury ride with Vic Coffey and Danny Johnson's backup car. He came across the line third. The Hurricane and 2000 Dirt Big Block champ Steve Payne comes in fourth, with Tim McCready rounding out the top five. Other notables led by Jumpin' Jack Johnson in seventh, with Kenny Tremont Jr. eighth. Polteny, Vermont's Dave Camara and the Camara Slate Express, number 27. 26 comes across with a good run, home 11th. AJ Romano in the Skips Racing Labatt's Blue, number 16, was 12th, while Bobby Varon comes across the line 17th.
Busch Series points leader Jeff Green has a score to settle with the Rock. His last two visits to North Carolina have ended in 2 second-place finishes, so he understandably would love to finally get a victory there. Standing in his way, pole sitter Mark Martin, who has 11 career wins in North Carolina all by himself, as we head down south for the Sam's Club 200. And it didn't take long for Jeff Green to move on up like George and Wheezy. Gets underneath young Casey Atwood and into second place. Who is in first, you ask? None other than Mark Martin himself. A little while later on, the caution flag would come out for the Marines machine of Hank Parker Jr. Comes to a stop in the middle of the speedway. Not a good place. How did it happen, you ask? In car with Jeff Purvis here. Parker Jr. runs straight into the wall, then rubs right up against his suit. No, make that Purvis. The 53 is done, but Purvis could continue. Up front, Mark Martin was continuing to master Rockingham, the Winn-Dixie 60 at the head of the class, and trying to extend his lead over the second-place car of Jeff Green. But a little while later on, Jeff Burton caught up to the 60 of Mark Martin. Burton and Martin do battle side by side for almost 3 straight laps until Burton gets out front and takes over the top spot. Tricky Dick Trickle with problems of his own. His car is a mess and he's done after hitting the wall. In the pits, Mark Martin having some problems of his own, and his air hose not only has problems leaving the pits but has to come back for a penalty from NASCAR. Martin obviously not real happy about things. Then, with about 14 laps remaining, Jeff Green takes advantage of a Rick Hendrick accident. The leader, Jeff Burton, slows down to avoid the accident, and Jeff Green says, thank you very much. Goes on by to take over the top spot as they race to the line. But on the restart, Jeff Burton goes to the high side and just blows by the Nesquik Bunny machine and into first place with 8 laps remaining. 4 laps left now, and Elton Sawyer and the Lysol Mobile and Jason Keller get together. Sawyer's spinning and Keller doing a great job of hanging on to it. Lysol's flammable, you know, keeps his championship homes alive. Final lap now in a shootout for the checkers. Jeff Green getting a great jump on Jeff Burton, sliding high and out front of the number 9. The Nesquik Chevy getting the JOBDONE once again as Jeff Green holds off Jeff Burton and Jason Keller take the Sam's Club 200 at the Rock.
I knew he would try, if I stayed on the bottom on that second to last restart, that he would pass me on the outside, but I had no choice. And when I got that run on him on the restart, this old Roush motor pulled me right through there. And I knew that I had him when I got up on the outside of him because that's where he'd been running. And it's awesome. These guys are awesome, man. It's an awesome season for us. Proud of Jason Keller, man. He run an awesome race today. He did what he had to do. And I wanted to be 1 and 2, but 1 and 3 ain't too bad for this PPC race team.
Not bad. 6th win of the season for Jeff Green. It inches him closer to the Busch Series title. Jeff Burton holds off Jason Keller for second. Todd Bedine 4th across the line, with Ward Burton rounding out the top 5. Second, 6th led by Mark Martin. It flew all the way up from 19th to finish 6th. Matt Kenseth 7th with young Casey Atwood 8th. Kenny Wallace in the Lance Snacks number 25 car was 9th. Kevin Harvick rounding out the top 10. Other notables led by the Napa Chevy of Ron Hornaday 11th. With Jeffrey Bodine from Chemung, New York, and Tim Fedewa's car across the line 14th. Kyle Petty 15th in the Sprint PCS Chevy. The Magic Shoes, Michael McLaughlin 16th. Elton Sawyer was 19th in the Lysol Ford after his late accident. Busch Series points led by Jeff Green still. Now, all he has to do next week is start the race, and he's the 2000 Busch Series champion. So everybody keeping a close eye on him as he makes his way to the track, I'm sure. Teammate Jason Keller staying with Todd Bedine 3rd. Kevin Harvick, Ron Hornaday round out the top 5. Busch boys in action next week in Memphis. A great finish for Jeff Green to get the win, headed down south.
That's right, no doubt. Finally got out of second at Rockingham, and I'm sure he's thrilled about that. Well, we have to head out for a few seconds, but when we return, Danny Johnson looks to cap off a great season on the Dirt 358 Tour.
But before we get to all that, we hope to leave you a little bit smarter auto racing wise than you started with something we like to call the Fox 23 Fast Track Fast Fact.
Fox 23 Fast Track, brought to you in part by the new Dodge.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you decided to make us part of your weekend routine. Time for one more finale now.
That's right. This time we're headed back to Orange County for the 358 boys doing action as well. Danny Johnson, as we already said, has wrapped up the 358 title as he's been dominating on the circuit all season long. But he would like nothing more than to cap off an almost perfect season with a 358 victory at Orange County. As we head back down south a bit for the CarQuest Auto Parts 150, and off the start, your leader would be the pole sitter, of course, the Doctor, Danny Johnson in the lead, but right behind him was the number 56 of Leadfoot, Tim McCready. A little while later on, some problems for the 51 of Jimmy Horton. It looks really cool, but I'm sure Horton wasn't thinking that. The wheel and the suspension going down on the 51, making Horton's ride a three-wheeler, a very impressive three-wheeler. Unfortunately for Horton, he would have to go to the pits a bit later for a flat tire, but it was quite a wide ride while it lasted. Bobby Varon in the Dover Brakes 00 working his way up through the field. We find a big black track champion sliding under the FX1 of Frankie Caprara and taking over the number 3 position. Jumpin' Jack Johnson doing well too, the 12A, up to 4th until something breaking in the drive line, ending his afternoon prematurely. Then the old saying, bad things come in threes. First, Kenny Tremont and Brett Hearn doing battle, but Tremont getting the worst of it, gets spun around, then gets hit by the M1 of Timmy Fuller and the 4 of the Wild Child, Andy Bicchetti. Bad thing number 2 happens to Rich Ricky Jr., the axle and tire going on the 1R, knocking him out. And how about bad thing number 3 happening to Bobby Varon, a flat tire on his car, sending him to the pits for repairs, all on the same lap. At the front, it was still the Sweetness Plus number 27J of the Doctor, Danny Johnson, the Doctor in front all afternoon, leading the 47H of Jerry Higbee and Brett the Jet Hearn in the Brioski car. And in the end, no one was going to catch up to Johnson. Danny Johnson leading all the way from the pole to cap off his 2000 season by capturing the CarQuest Auto Parts 150.
I feel great. I tell you what, it just doesn't get any better than this. Sweetener Plus team worked real hard this year to accomplish what we accomplished, and you know, we no matter what happens tomorrow, today and this year has been a successful year for us, and we're real happy with what's happened so far.
It's been a tough year for this team, but it's a good way to finish a big race like this in third. We're patient, did what we had to do. We'll go down in the record books as our biggest day, but still pretty good.
Great way to end the season for Danny Johnson as he leads wire to wire in Orange County for the 2nd straight year. Can't argue with that. Jerry Higbee fights off Brett Hearn for 2nd place with the Syracuse winner Pete Bicknell 4th. Dave Camara in the Camara Slate number 26 rounds out the top 5. Other notables led by Bobby Varon coming across 9th in the Dover Brake Machine after his flat tire. Kenny Tremont Jr. was 12th with Ronnie Hot Shoe Holmes getting the Hard Charger Award, coming home 12th in the number 82. Rich Ricky Jr. was 21st after his axle problems with Jumpin' Jack Johnson 25th.
Michael Schumacher wrapped up the World Driving Championship for Ferrari last weekend in Japan. The only thing to be decided this week in the final race will be the Constructors' title between Ferrari and McLaren. Might as well go for the clean sweep while you're at it. So off we go to the Far East, the Malaysian Grand Prix, in the land where they cane rowdy college students from America. And off the green lights, a great start for the McLarens. Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard flying into the lead and around for the first turn with the Ferraris right behind them. Then the only real big accident on the day, 3 cars getting tangled up going through one of the turns. Nick Heidfeld, Pedro De La Rosa, and Pedro Denitz all getting mixed up. Heidfeld and Denitz would both have to retire with severe damage to their rides. Problems now for Mika Hakkinen a little while later on. The Finn being called into the pits for a stop-and-go penalty for jumping the start. Tough day for Hakkinen considering he was leading, but now we know why. That would leave the lead to Hakkinen's teammate David Coulthard, the Scotsman, now out front of the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher by a good 4 seconds. Coulthard looking to end his season on a good note. Later on, DC having to come into the pits and remove some debris from his radiator and get some fuel. He'd come out 2nd place behind Michael Schumacher, the big man. Then not too much later on, Schumacher in the pits for a little gas and some tires. The Ferrari team getting the JOB-DONE once again. Schu out front. It takes over the lead. Schumacher looking for win number 9 on the year. Johnny Herbert with some problems later on, loses the tire, spins recklessly into the wall. Ironically, the tire wall. Herbert a bit shaken up, would have to go to the hospital with a sprained ankle, but otherwise okay. 10 laps left now. David Coulthard putting some pressure on the German Schumacher. Coulthard trying to get around the Ferrari driver to get McLaren to the Constructors' Championship, but that's not going to happen. Michael Schumacher was just the man to beat as usual. Schumacher driving a perfect race and stayed out of trouble to win the Formula One finale, the Malaysian Grand Prix. Now, it was the 9th win of the year for Schumacher and a great way to finish out his 2000 campaign. Scotsman David Coulthard, close second with the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello third, and the McLaren of Mika Hakkinen all the way back up for fourth. But because Ferrari finished first and third, they win the Constructors' Points Championship as well. Canadian Jacques Villeneuve rounded out the top five. Second five led by Ireland's Eddie Irvine in the top six for only the second time this year. Good for him. Alexander Wirtz was seventh. Mika Salo eighth. Giancarlo Fisichella comes across ninth. Jos Verstappen rounded out the top 10. Final Formula One points look like this. Michael Schumacher takes the World Driving Championship for the third time in his career. The other time with the Benetton team. Hakkinen was second, 19 points behind, although it was closer than the final score. Scotland's David Coulthard was third, with Rubens Barrichello fourth, and Michael's brother Ralph rounding out the top five. And you couldn't ask for a better way to end the season for Schumacher, I guess.
That's right. And now that he's won the title for Ferrari, the pressure is going to be even greater for him to repeat next year. But I'm sure he'll do fine because he's a professional.
$50 million he can afford to practice.
Well, we've got to head to the pits for one last time. But when we return, Kim Hart introduces us to a local driver looking to move on up.
But before we get to that, we introduce you to another one of the area's racing finest. Pro Stocks driver Mike Fritz is tonight's Fox 23 Fast Track Driver Profile. Enjoy.
Still got a few turns left here tonight on Fox 23 Fast Track.
That's right, like one local driver looking to move on up, just like the Jeffersons. By this time of year, if a driver finances their own team, their budget looks pretty slim. It's decision time. Either dig down way deep to continue or look for some outside help. Fox 23 Fast Track's Kim Hart talks to a Fonda driver who went out to the outside and found some.
I've wanted to race for a long time, and a lot of circumstances in my life come about, and I said, well, it's time to, time to do something.
Once Rich Wozniak moved to the sportsman division at Fonda, his racing career moved into the fast lane.
I got Rookie of the Year at Fonda Speedway. I got a Newcomer of the Year for the New York State Stock Car Association, and I finished 14th in overall points.
Going into his sophomore year, there were some pretty big expectations, and Rich did what he had to do to live up to them.
A couple weeks, I come from 12th, 13th, 14th, and, really going in the front in a quick hurry by running the outside. And Jimmy Kane, I think it was him, he nicknamed me Mr. Outside after that, and it kind of stuck the rest of the year.
After a successful yet frustrating season this year at Fonda Speedway, Rich Wozniak put a for sale sign on the car and decided it was time to take a break.
Frustration, I would say, was probably the biggest thing. Getting taken out 2-3 weeks in a row and really no fault of yours at all. And the money was a big issue. We don't have the best equipment that I ran in the sportsman car.
And just when it looked like Rich was out of a ride, Bo and Dan Carl put him in a new one.
We thought about getting out, and that's pretty much what we were going to do. And then these guys asked me if I wanted to drive this car, and all I had to do was show up and drive it. And naturally, the answer was yes.
So Mr. Outside will now run this 358 owned by the Carls and powered by Bo and his cousin Eddie Brassmaster, and the future is looking bright.
I believe in him. He's patient. He's competitive. And he goes for what he wants.
If you don't dream, maybe you never get anywhere.
We're going racing again.
For Fox 23 Fast Track, I'm Kim Hart.
Thanks a lot, Kim. Did you like that story? Well, you can add your thoughts to that story or anything else that happens in the auto racing world. Tune into Racing with Hart, Sunday nights, 9 to 10 o'clock on 810 WGY on the AM dial and Pix 106 on the FM dial. Kim Hart takes your calls, so go ahead, give her a shout and share your thoughts on the auto racing world.
And last weekend at Fonda, Rich finished 19th in the 358 race. And while that may not sound impressive, he had to qualify through the Consi, and he started 10th, and they only took 2 cars. That's pretty impressive.
Better than I could do. Definitely someone you're going to want to keep your eye on in the near future. Well, we're just about finished here tonight, but we still have time to give you the answer to tonight's trivia question. Remember it from early on in the big show? It was, what is the maximum number of gallons of fuel in a Winston Cup car can carry at any given time? The answer is B. Winston Cup car can carry 22 gallons of racing fuel.
Did you get that one? All right, well, then you come up with the stumper, smart guy. And share your favorite trivia question with the entire Fox 23 Fast Track audience. Email us at fox23sports@aol.com or give us a call here at Fox 23 Fast Track. The number is 862-2323, extension 290. As always, feel free to offer up any comments or story ideas as well. We're out of time for this week's show. He's Shawn Farley. I'm Scott Morlock.
For Rich Becker, Kim Hart, Mike Schlissel, and everyone on the Fox 23 Fast Track crew, thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here next week on Fox 23 Fast Track.